Make sure your cell phones are off. Maintenance, make sure you identify yourself when you speak. Look to your chair, make sure everybody gets turned. And with that, for members, I have John Rocha, Janie Evans, Debbie Savini is on a call, not a Zoom.
Correct.
Sandy Griffith is the same. Deborah Miller, Tom Benson. We're missing our council liaison. I'm Mary Ann Suttles. And so with that, we will start our introduction.
Very good. So I have three introductions. So most of you have actually already met Chelsea because she was shaking hands earlier. Chelsea is the interim community development director for the city of Prescott. Hopefully she's the new community development director for the city of Prescott. We also have your new liaison and CDBG specialist, Michael McInnes. I think all of you have talked to him. He's here, so you can see him for the first time, hopefully in person. I think he's doing great. He dived headfirst right into this, and we managed to catch his ankles and pull him back out, so he's okay. This is a complicated program, as you well know, and the administrative side of it is more complicated than what you do, even. Yeah. So he's got a big learning curve ahead, but he's dived into it with enthusiasm, and we're happy to see that. He's going to talk to you a little bit more and help answer some questions when we get to the point where we're asking you questions. And we have Patricia Lawler, who is our community development administrative specialist right now, taking minutes for us. Well, actually, she's taking notes. We'll do minutes from the recording. So these are an interesting group we have here. Actually,
George,
they're very effective.
If you don't mind, this is my mistake.
Sure.
I'm going to try to get those minutes approved from the October meeting.
Certainly.
So we'll be official.
Certainly.
So with that, I need a motion for the minutes of the October 12th, 2022 CAC meeting.
So moved.
That would be Deborah Miller, a second.
I'll second that.
John Rocha, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't
Aye.
know how you're going to handle them on screen.
I got
Sandy, a nod and
I got
Aye.
two eyes.
two
All right.
eyes.
So again, George, I apologize, but
No
now
problem.
I've got you back on schedule.
Not a problem. Can you
So it sort of looks like
roll that
we're
up
moving
just a
to discussion of your applications.
So we've given you a packet with all of the applications that we received. There are 9 total applications. They're separated out so you can see which ones were related to providing services versus construction versus CARES money. One of the things we wanted to do was make sure you had enough time to review them. We just got them to you last week because we just closed it a little bit late. One of the questions we had for you is, can we schedule a meeting for the applicants to make presentations to you in 2 weeks? Would you be able to have a meeting that soon? We believe that gives us enough time to get them lined up, and it should give you enough time to read through all of these, develop questions for the applicants so that we can bring them in for that meeting. And I guess that's the...
That date would be Wednesday.
I'm sorry, I forgot to check that.
March 1st.
March 1st, yeah.
Okay.
First, what do we think?
Let me check.
Might want to check their calendars. Mine's at home on the counter because that's where it should be.
March 1st?
March 1st,
Wednesday, March 1st.
Would it be also at 1:30?
1:30.
I think we'll try to do the 1:30 because we will want to give them 5 or 10 minutes each for a presentation. You have 9 presentations potentially, and then your discussion and question and answer associated with it. So that's a good 2-hour meeting.
But I might be a little bit late.
We'll accept that. We understand everybody has,
I didn't bring my calendar, but I think I can make it.
and
least
I will
so
be there also.
Tentatively? Okay.
We'll need to check the
At 1:30 on the?
1:30
I can be there.
on Wednesday here, and then you guys check
Sandy
our
and,
two
Sandy and Deb?
attendance.
Yes.
So that's the
Madam
next meeting.
Madam Chair
Yes, Sandy?
and George Worley, number one, March 1st at 1:30 is fine. I can schedule that.
Okay.
However, I'd like confirmation and clarification. We really have, we don't have 9 presentations, we have 7 because 2 of the public service presentations entered their information erroneously, so they moved over to the construction section, I think. But we really have 7 applications and not 9. Michael, please confirm that.
Yeah, just a second here. I'll pull this up.
Okay.
Mike, you're going to need your microphone.
Okay. All right. So I brought this up on the screen. Let me see if I can zoom in. Sorry, have y'all turn y'all's backs.
Different.
And
Good, I didn't see this.
Madam Chair, we don't have anything showing up on our screen.
Okay. I'm not sure, let's see.
I have it on half of my screen. This is Debbie Savoini.
So none of us have the sheet, correct?
I just, this one I
Could be
actually
shared.
just made maybe a couple
There you go.
hours ago, so.
Thank you.
We're going to send,
Thank you.
we're going to send that to all of you.
Okay, great.
I thought, just putting this together like it is, would be easier to, see the whole program for 2023 program year. What we have right now is 2 construction applications, the first 2 on that list. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have 5 public service. And Sandy, I think the additional 2 would be in Prescott Cares. So let me see if I can.
Yes.
And
Right, the Prescott Cares entered incorrectly and NASCAR moved over to construction. So we have 7 applications and not 9.
Oh, that was where NASCAR entered their application incorrectly. Sandy was in public service. And so they took it out of public service and put it in the construction application. So it should
So
be
it-
2 construction, 5 public service.
Correct.
And 2 Prescott Care. So a total of 9, with US Vets being in there twice for construction, as well as Prescott Cares. And I'm sorry, I'll get this to everybody. I literally just made this morning, thinking of something that would, make, looking at all this a bit more user-friendly.
Michael,
I think this will
and
help you a lot.
we could come off of both, but for myself, I would appreciate a copy because I sort of make my notes and move the stuff around.
Yeah.
And I'm not your technical person.
Right.
I'm the one that holds your hand and
Yes,
you tell
yes,
me.
ma'am.
So if we could get that done, so that will come via email.
For sure.
You wouldn't be able to do it today.
I imagine
We can do it
could
today.
run a copy before this.
Before everyone leaves, I can
When
get
we,
it to you.
when we adjourn the meeting, hold out for a few minutes and we'll get
That
them
would
to
be
you.
great.
And those who aren't here, we'll get them an electronic copy of it or a paper
Thank you.
copy to pick up.
I see a little Prescott Cares sheet there.
Yeah.
Can that show us the figures just roughly, real quick? Just curiosity looking at funds. So,
Yeah.
2020.
So we have the March 25th, 2024 is a trigger date that we need to address at some point. Spending the money to an 80% level keeps the remainder of the money and gives us more time to spend the remainder of it. If we don't meet that time, the remainder that hasn't been spent goes back to the feds.
So we have to get to 80% of funds.
80% of the total. So we're at about 40% right now.
So spending 177,000.
So outstanding is a 262,000 of the total.
That's correct.
Okay. 80% funded amount is 341. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good?
Want to go back to the agenda?
The agenda? Yeah.
Okay. And I can bring that back up.
Thank you. So we talked previous years, we formed a subcommittee. I'm sorry, I was going to just make Mike talk the whole meeting, and I felt bad. We had talked previously about using, well, we've used the past 2 years, a subcommittee to review and to provide initial reaction to the rest of the committee for all of the applications to help with the ranking. Is that something you still want to do? We have an opportunity to continue that process if you think it's more efficient for you, or we have the opportunity to propose a different process if,
Can we discuss it?
absolutely, this is for you to discuss.
The subcommittee has been John Roches, Sandy Griffith, and myself.
Right.
The idea was all the members put in their information. From that, we divided what we had, what was left, and went from there.
Right.
And it was Michelle who sort of instituted. I thought it went a little faster by having that subcommittee and then coming back to the members and deciding what to do. But I would certainly leave this open to any member that's here. Do you think the subcommittee has done the job you want, or do you want to try something else?
I had some doubts before we started that, but after I've seen it in a process, I think it worked very well. Frankly, it saved a lot of time because we had a few differences as a committee as a whole, but very few. We resolved them pretty smoothly. So my feeling is that it's a good way to go.
Janie?
Because I have not experienced it before, I'm going to go with the majority.
Okay. Deborah?
I liked having the subcommittee do a lot of the groundwork and then bringing it back to the committee and having us an ability to speak to what they'd put together. I think it works great, and like Mary Ann said, I agree. It goes much faster and much smoother, so I'm in favor of it.
John?
Yeah, I'd say just from speaking, from someone in the subcommittee, I think it's worth noting that every time we have brought it to the entire committee, there's always been some changes to it, which I think I've really much appreciated. I feel like I'd be a little more concerned if we brought it onto the table to talk about and everything's just like, yeah, we're just approving it as it is. So I think there's a track record there of really hearing all the voices and working, and adjusting certain things. I think every time so far, I've done 2 of them, we've adjusted something based on the opinions of the committee.
Could I add to that? Yeah, I was just going to say that same thing. It was interesting to me that we did not just carte blanche accept the subcommittee, but it narrowed down the discussion significantly. So I think it's a good way to go.
Can I get,
Deborah Savoini, do you have?
Yes. There was a step prior to going to the subcommittee in that we reviewed, as individuals, we reviewed all the applications, we scored it, then we submitted it to Michelle. Michelle did an average of our scores, and then that also, I think, gave the subcommittee an idea of where
Right.
we as a committee would like that money to be spent. But yes, I do like the system.
You're absolutely correct, and we would continue that process. It sounds like we have a majority of you, but we're still waiting on Sandy. What do you say?
I personally feel that the process works well, and I'm quite impressed with the subcommittee itself because we are not pushovers. We've had some very serious conversations going back and forth. So for those CDBG members that are not in the subcommittee, I want you to know that we definitely take this serious and we just don't all agree. It's not a slam dunk process. and I'm quite proud of how it works.
Good, thank you.
I think just to clarify, she meant pushovers
We never assume.
amongst ourselves, not from the city's perspective.
Correct.
We never assume you're pushovers. I do have one additional question. So you've had a subcommittee already selected. Is there a desire to change the membership of the subcommittee?
And George, I was going to ask that. My only reservation was with this year having a new CDBG person and a new development person, this will be our third year on it. I'd like to see the three of us continue, but I'd certainly like to see next year that move and get some other members on that subcommittee, because I think there needs to be more involvement with the board, and I think you get to see sort of how it works.
Yeah.
But I'll put that out to the board, what you're feeling.
I raised my hand. I agree with you.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is sort of a preempt to put this in your court. Let's start to say a thread, but that's not politically correct. This is sort of to put that idea out, start thinking about it. Let's get through this. Let's finish up, ask some questions, and then let maybe at the end of this session, this time of CDBG, get that subcommittee on for next year.
I think that's a great idea.
All right, perfect.
Thank you. Particular things you wanted to talk to them about based on what you've seen so far?
Yes, I'm just gonna, the scoring, I was unsure about that. Oh, I'm sorry. The scoring, I was unsure about that. I have been looking at a lot of the meetings or the minutes from the last year with Michelle, and it sounded like the scoring was a little bit, wasn't that popular, or if that, something needs to be done with that differently. Any input that I can take, I'll do with it what I can.
I just don't know how much time we have to change
What?
Yeah, that's true,
I
okay.
just don't know if it's fair to change that on the applicants. But I know there was some discussion about how we felt maybe there was some missing parts on the rubric side for the criteria. I just don't recall what that was. So I don't know if there's a way to pull those up or not, but I guess the bigger question is, do we even have time to really set those changes in?
I agree with you in that changing it partway through the process, none of the scoring is actually seen by the applicants, so I don't know that it directly affects the applicants, but at the same time, for stability's sake, if you've already got a process in place and we continue to follow the rest of the process, we probably should follow the scoring too.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add to what George said and John said, that yes, I think in the interest of time right now and to get us to the point we need to be quickly and efficiently with this process, I would be all in favor of continuing the scoring process from the last year. And then once we get through this session, we have time, as John said, to look over it, and then we can put that on an agenda as looking to change.
And it may be much fresher in your minds than trying to think back a year ago when you were scoring to try and remember
Yeah.
what was wrong with the scoring. Let's go ahead and do it again, and then we'll talk about it when it's fresh.
Okay? All right?
Yeah, that was the big one that I wanted to put out there, so. I think I've reached out to most everybody, talked to them directly, and I just wanted to say I'm available, via email or phone, and I'm really invested in this program. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone on this. This is, from what I've seen and just the research that I've done, a pretty important program. I'm glad to be a part of it, so.
George and Mike, there was one other thing, maybe this is the time to talk about it. On the construction sites in the past, we've physically visited those. And it's something we want to think about again this time. We don't necessarily need to go to the one that's with the U.S. vets, because I was the only one, myself and Michelle were the only ones that visited there, which was very interesting, and I would recommend that maybe the committee do go to visit that, because what they're doing is going to be a massive but beautiful project. But the other one, I'm not sure what it is that we need to look at. But
So we've given you all of the applications. If you have an opportunity to read through them, give us some feedback. If you want site visits, let Michael know, and we will arrange a site visit. There's some weirdness associated with public meeting law that we have to follow, so
we got a public meeting law. We have to make sure that we disclose and do it properly. But
correct. And
It's-
that's our job. We'll do that. We just need to know that a majority of you want to go.
yeah, the reason I recommend it, though, is that this is a long-term project, and I really think that everybody here should see what it is that they're trying to do. I'm not trying to sell or anything, just point out that it's important. It's a massive job.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is Debbie Savoini.
Hey, Debbie.
Please proceed.
So in looking at the construction application for US Vets, they use new construction a lot in that application. I didn't think this money could be spent on new construction.
You can't spend CDBG money on constructing new buildings. You can use it to convert buildings from one type to another, and I think that's what they're trying to describe.
Okay, because I just kept seeing new construction and rehabilitation. It was like, I didn't understand how we could even approve that if it was really indeed. I understand you can prepare the site for new construction, but I didn't know that you could build something.
Yeah,
But thank you for your explanation.
Sure, no problem. Under CDBG, you can't construct new buildings. You can remodel buildings, you can add on to buildings, you can do a lot of modifications to those buildings. If you're a contractor and you're going into something that's mostly a blank space, you kind of are thinking it's new construction, and I think that's where their explanation came from.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Sandy. I had the same question as Miss Debbie, and I feel that this is something that we can bring forward to US Vets in a couple weeks when she's at the microphone and have a clearer explanation, because it's not clear in their package.
Okay. And we will certainly reach out to them and make sure that they're prepared to talk about anything that's unclear. So again, if you're reading applications, let us know, and we'll advise those applicants that they need to be focused in their presentation on those things that aren't clear.
Because in Q3, it clearly states that they begin new build of 80 units.
And that's not subject to our CDBG program. I think they're describing their overall construction project. They are remodeling old officers'
Right.
quarters, which is eligible under CDBG. The new construction's actually outside of the city of Prescott on county land, which is
So they're-
outside of our jurisdiction.
Right, but there's definitely clarification that needs to be made with this.
Very good, thank you.
I think on that note, Madam Chair, if Michael could probably, I'd be interested. I remember this officer quarters project from last go around, and I'd like to just get an understanding of why it hasn't started construction or renovation. So if there's any kind of context you can provide us with on that, because I agree, it does sound like there's a new construction of 80 units. And then I think it says on their project, Q2, October 2023, would be looking at beginning the renovation of officers' quarters, which struck me as strange because I thought they were full-blown already into that project. I think that would be helpful for us to consider.
There were some additional steps they had to go to. We can provide those steps to you. Perfect. Are there any other questions? I really don't have anything else for you. Not today. Again, a question for all of the committee members. If you get through your packet items and have specific questions that you want applicants to address, the sooner we know that, the better. We'll give them a heads up, and they can tailor their presentation to you to make sure they address those things. And we will reach out to them and see if we can't get something set up for March 1st. If anything changes on that, or if we see we're not going to have a quorum of you for whatever reason, we will be back in touch and figure that out.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Sandy.
directed to Mr. Worley, this is Sandy. I think it would be beneficial as well if some sort of questionnaire list could be compiled where the CDBG committee members are able to see and know what questions have been asked versus doing it kind of one-on-one.
So
Is there a way you can compile all of our questions?
Absolutely. So if we get questions from any of you specifically to that, we can provide that information to all of you so you know what the questions are.
That would be great.
Not a problem. I say that because I'm going to make Michael do it.
Thank you, Michael.
I do have two questions, Marion.
John Rocha.
Yeah, just not off topic, but just things to circle back to is on the Prescott Cares program is, if I remember correctly, the chamber is not facilitating that anymore, correct? So is that now back on the city or really you, Michael, at this point?
I'd have to get back to you on that one. That is how I understand it at this point. With these two new applications, which I have here, the one is the West Yavapai Guidance Clinic, Polera Health, and then another one for US Vet. So
Yeah.
I believe I'll be in charge of that, but I'll double check and make sure everybody's aware.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, round one of CDBG Prescott Cares was done by the chamber, correct?
Yes.
And
They
I
were,
think
they were our direct subrecipient. And
Subrecipient.
then they passed the monies on
Yes.
to the businesses and the property owners who were eligible.
Got it, okay. That's just worth clarifying, because I think a lot of that's going to come off their plate if that's true for this round. It's going to
Yes.
be more probably on this committee.
And again, the Prescott Cares is handled on its own. And should we do that first? Get that done before we get into the rest of our CDBG? And I'm not talking about today. But
Yeah,
I'm talking about, should we schedule time to finish those two up?
We can schedule the presentations to you in segments. Normally, we do the service and the construction as two different segments.
Correct.
All of the services present and then all of the construction. We can do the two applications for Prescott Cares as a separate segment, first or last,
I'd like to have
Preference?
it done same day so we don't have to come back.
I agree.
all the same day, yes.
Okay?
And then one last thing, Madam Chair, has the schedule changed at all from the last schedule that we got from Michelle? Are we on track for that?
We're behind.
Okay.
Mostly my fault. We're behind at the moment. One of the reasons I ask about scheduling 2 weeks out is so that we can catch up again. We have a couple of hard deadlines that we have to meet, partly because the city incorporates some of your actions into our budget, so we have to line up with our budget process that's already kicked off. And partly because we have a couple of HUD deadlines of things we have to submit. I don't think we're going to miss any of the deadlines. Scheduling the applicants 2 weeks from now is going to help us stay within those deadlines.
George, at that time, would you be able to have a calendar for us as to meetings and dates?
I think we may have a.
Someone's running their 10 key.
Oh, that was me. So
Aha!
I was
I think we have a-
calculating some Prescott Cares monies.
Okay. We have a calendar. We'll get to you as part of the follow-up for your meeting next meeting, along with this.
Perfect.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Sandy Griffith.
back to Prescott Cares, and correct me, George and Michael, but of the 427,198, a portion of that went to the chamber for management, and then is there a portion now that goes to the city? because we really didn't have 427,198 to spend.
Sandy, are you speaking of the minor home repairs? It was around like 50,000 that got,
No,
No,
when
that's Prescott Cares.
When we contracted with the chamber, their administrative costs were part of that contract and can be paid through the funding here. Whether we, the city, would deduct administrative cost out of that, I'm not sure. We need to have a discussion about that. My initial preference would be, no, let's spend as much as we can on subrecipients. We have staff who are tasked with making this happen, and I think that we would prefer to do that. With a subrecipient like the chamber, they had to fund additional staff in order to do it, so the administrative cost was part of our grant to them.
But did their administrative cost, was that over and above the 427,198, or did it come out of the 427,198?
That's a good question. It came out of the 427,198. So those funds came as a single tranche. They weren't split up with the 15, 20, whatever the additional adds up to. Math in the afternoon is not for me. Split that we have for regular CDBG money. It came as a single block that could be spent on administration and the other targeted functions that we're spending CARES money on. So we didn't have to do the same thing that we normally do, which is say 20%, 15%, the remainder for construction. Does that make sense? It came in one block. It didn't have to be divided up.
But so the 427,198 is our block of expenditure funds for Prescott Cares.
Correct. And to maintain it for maintain it for additional time, we need to get to the 341,758 number by roughly this time next year.
I understand that. I'm just making sure that the 427,198 is our number and the chamber's administrative fees have already been taken care of.
That is correct. That was part of their
Okay,
contract.
Perfect.
Just to take a little bit of precaution, the home repair project is a whole different.
That was regular CDBG and not CARES money.
Right.
So yes,
Right.
separate thing. Under that program, we had to meet the 20% admin, 15%, et cetera.
All right.
So the standard CDBG division.
I was going to work on getting Sherry Heine here, maybe not on March 1st, but the following 2 weeks after that, to talk about that program, the minor homes repair program.
Give you an
Because
update of where it is.
I think they're down to just, what, I think she told me 80,000, something
They're running
like
out of money. They've been very successful.
Right. So finish that up and take care of it, and we're done with that till the feds decide to send us some more. We should be so lucky.
One of the interesting things that we're seeing is it looks like the amount that the city is going to be receiving has come down some this year from last year. I don't know whether it's because the feds are buying more missiles to shoot balloons down or what. It might be that we're just getting more applications for membership in the CDBG program nationwide. So the pot's getting bigger and the slices are getting smaller. That's affecting how much we get. So it's going to drop a little bit this year, and it'll probably drop a little bit in future years. At least it's a small amount.
Right. And this is what I had up on the spreadsheet that I'll make sure to get to everyone, is you'll see program year 2022, that amount of 238,526, that is what we were authorized last year. This is an estimate. You know, we don't know. Talk to the HUD representative, and she might, maybe in a month, maybe at the end of this month, we might have a number, but conservatively 235,000. And that's what these these calculations are made from is that 235,000 calculation. So 65% goes to construction, 15% public service. So that's what we have for public service if this is what we do get in, and
your-
then administrative.
Your past direction to us has been if the amount comes in less than we anticipate when we're doing our review and recommendations, that everybody takes an equal hit. If it comes in more, we'll be back to you with what to do with the additional.
Here's what we got. This is requested from applications for total construction for this year, and then, double the amount probably of what we'll get, maybe, for public service. If that makes sense.
And that's, again, typical of your application process. You nearly always have more requests for the public service funds than you have funds
Right?
because of the smaller slice.
I have a question. Is there any way to, the city of Prescott CDBG, to change the percentages on allocation? That's a HUD federal.
Yeah, that would actually take quite literally an act of Congress.
Okay.
So it's not easy.
No, it was adopted into federal law with that with that division as part of it. So we can give you the citation in the Congressional Federal Register if you want to read it.
I believe you.
Again, we're open to any questions you may have. If
Yes.
you think of something along the way. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
The voice. So I have a question about the public service packet. In my packet, there's a whole section on Matt Force. Did they submit an application?
Yes, they did.
No, I didn't. Let me see that.
What's the name? What was the? I have New Horizons, People
Actually, I
Care,
don't see
Wrapped in Love, Big Brothers, and Launchpad, but I'm not seeing Matt Force.
See them either.
No, they didn't. I don't know how that got in there, Deborah. I'll
Okay.
have to check. I was working on doing stuff with Matt Force, but that was a previous year's applicant, so maybe that got stuck in there. But I'll call you after this and see exactly what you got. But they're not one of this year's applicants. Matt Force is not.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought happened.
Right.
But, because I searched through the packet a couple times and couldn't find the application for Matt Force, so, okay, thank you, Michael.
If you come up with other questions in the next week, let us know. Again, if you have specific requests for additional information after you've had a chance to look at the packets, let us know. We'll provide a synopsis of your questions so that all of you see what everyone asked. And with that,
I'd like to kind of second, I think it was Sandy's idea, that we all see the questions.
Absolutely.
And the answers, just so we're all in the same.
absolutely, it puts
Yeah.
everyone on the same
Yeah.
level, and you're not going to be surprised, and you're also not going to duplicate questions.
I'm going to ask before we have that March meeting, if Michael could email all of the board members and remind them, we need these questions. Let's get them in before we have this meeting.
We
Just
will,
sort of,
starting on Mondays, sending you reminders.
we can get those that a little bit early. We're running behind, so we've got a lot of different stuff on this plate.
Just to remind you of, right?
reading.
And so if you can help with that, I'm even going to talk to Michael when this meeting's over about my packet. So then if everybody at the board agrees and our two conference calls, if there's no other questions, then we can adjourn.
Madam Chair,
Sandy Griffin?
so back to what Debbie Savallini said about Matt Force. The way my package is that public service application number 5, called Community Counts, has listed Marilee Fowler as part of community counts. So I assumed that that was part of Matt Force because that's who Merrill Lee is. So
Okay.
that's why I went ahead and didn't question, even though it has Matt Force. Merrill Lee is the one who wrote all of this.
Okay, Sandy, we've got that down as one of the questions. Michael's got it. Any others, ladies?
Chairman, back to number 5 again. I guess, Michael, if you determine that item 5 is correct with all the proper attachments, let us know. And if it's not, I'm assuming you'll send out a new item 5.
Yes. Yes, I'll do that, Sandy.
Thank you.
George, do you have any from the past meeting that we had on those minutes to sign off? I bet I almost do. We'll get together with that when the meeting's over. So other than that, we're sort of still very liquid, but we're soliding up. That next meeting will be March 1st. We'll be here at 1:30. We're going to try to get as much done as possible. Questions go to Mike. If Mike can, they go to George. If George can't, they go to Celeste. We've got a great field of what to do. We will take care of business as usual. That's why this board was selected, and I'm comfortable with where we're going and what we're doing. George, and again, want to thank you. You had a lot of coals in the fire. People leaving, things happening, come, go type of thing, but we're here, we're there, and we'll take care of it from then. So I simply need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That's done by Tom, second.
Seconded.
That's Deborah Miller. And with that, I've got us adjourned at 2:12. Enjoy this meeting because